Right, abusuafoɔ mu biara akɔ aba ha yɛ Ghana Politics Avenue so. I mean, dwuma yi di sɛ nneɛma ɛkɔ so Ghana Politics Highway no so na yɛde bɛdan ma ɔma obi biara nya ne kyɛfa. Ɛde nso yɛsa wɔ nneɛma foforɔ de brɛ mu yɛbɛsɔ obi biara sɛ ɔbɛnya ntoboase atie nneɛma ɛkɔ so a. Abusua yɛndi nkɔmmɔ. Ɛyɛ nansa yi ntam na ɛyɛ Ghana 2026 budget ɛyɛ Ewura Forson bɛkenkan. Wei na minorityfoɔ no bi ato ɔma no asi so ama ayɛ didididi wɔ ɔman wei mu. Wei ama ho abufuo na Forson de ɛyɛ nneɛma a NPP aban ɛyɛ abɛgu apa so. Na ɔde bɛgu apa so no kyerɛ mu sɛ ɛyɛ NPP foɔ agya ɛka nko ara na ɔmaa ɔman no. Ɔman bɛma ɔman no yie. Wei ma ɔbobɔ odin nti mmenkɔtie nsɛm a ɛkɔɔ so wɔ. Ansa na yɛbɛtie nsɛm no yɛbɛsɔ obi biara sɛ ɔbɛsubscribe na wahyɛ ama foforɔ nso sɛ aka dwumadi pa yi do a ɛmase yɛnkɔtie nsɛm a ɛkɔɔ so wɔ.
Has presented the government's fiscal plan for the year ahead. This government or this year's budget comes at a critical moment for Ghana's economy. After years of fiscal tightening under the IMF program, the country is beginning to see improvements in key macroeconomic indicators. Inflation has been trending downward. The cedi has shown signs of appreciation against major international currencies, and growth prospects are looking more stable. Here's Finance Minister presenting the budget, noting that Ghana's total public debt has declined from 726.7 billion or 61.8% of GDP in 2024 to 630.2 billion, representing some 45% of GDP as of October 2025.
Mr. Speaker, by October 2025, total debt had fallen from 726.7 billion Ghana cedis, or 61.8% of GDP in 2024, to 630.2 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent of 45% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, marking one of the sharpest decline in our history. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in over a decade, we have recorded a negative rate of debt accumulation from a positive 19.1% in 2024 to a negative 13.3% in 2025. Mr. Speaker, this turnaround reflects fiscal discipline, prudent borrowing, and stronger cedi, showing that Ghana's reforms are being measured, Mr. Speaker, and they are showing results. At home, domestic debt market has rebounded. Treasury bills have dropped by 1,600 basis points, with the 91-day Treasury bill at 10.7 from 28.9, the lowest in 14 years. Mr. Speaker, government has paid 20.3 billion Ghana cedis in bonds coupons, restoring trust and market liquidity. Mr. Speaker, Eurobond prices are up by 17%, yield down by 300 basis points, and investor confidence is back. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has entered a new era of debt sustainability, anchored on discipline, transparency, and fiscal sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, I'll give an update on sovereign credit ratings. Right Honorable Speaker, all three major international rating agencies have upgraded Ghana's, affirming new faith in our macroeconomic management. In June 2025, Fitch lifted Ghana from restricted default to B-. Again, Monies in October upgraded Ghana to CAA1. And Mr. Speaker, in November, a couple of weeks ago, S&P also upgraded Ghana to B-/B. The Speaker, together, these upgrades marks a global vote of confidence. Ghana is once again credible, stable, and open for business. Mr. Speaker, I take you to monetary and financial sector performance. Right Honorable Speaker, monetary policy in 2025 stayed tight but effective, thanks to prudent management by the central bank and the governor. The Speaker, the Bank of Ghana cut broad money growth to 16.6% and base money to 4.5%, sterilizing 55 billion Ghana cedis to stabilize the cedi and lock in the lowest inflation in 4 years. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana's external sector remained strong in 2025. The current account surplus rose to 3.2% of GDP from 2%, driven by robust gold and cocoa export, higher remittance, and strict import management. Mr. Speaker, a $2.1 billion United States dollar trade surplus and growth in non-traditional exports showed a more diversified economy. The Ghana cedi appreciated against the US dollar from 16.35 Ghana cedi to the US dollar in November 2024 to 10 cedi 92 pesos as at 10th November 2025. Mr. Speaker, this represents a rare appreciation of 35%, reflecting sound fiscal and monetary policy management. Right Honorable Speaker, this stability lowered debt costs and eased inflation. Gold and cocoa powered the recovery. Gold earnings rose 68% to 11.2 billion United States dollars. Speaker, cocoa rose 170% to 2.47 billion United States dollars, whilst oil dipped to 1.83 billion. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana's rising export firms reserves, Ghana's rising export firm reserves, and a stable cedi confirms one thing, that Ghana's recovery is real, disciplined, and indeed lasting.
All right, so that was the finance minister delivering the government's fiscal policy for the year 2026 in Parliament. It didn't end there. The minority in Parliament had their say as well later. Now, they have predicted low sales for traders ahead of the Christmas festivities, despite the recent announcement of single-digit inflation. The caucus asserts that lower inflation rate has not translated into improved economic conditions for the public. They argue that the Bank of Ghana's withdrawal of 60 billion cedis from the local market as part of efforts to control inflation has instead tightened liquidity and weakened purchasing power. Addressing journalists, the ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, claimed the NDC government has failed to prioritize the needs of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Another budget used to apportion blame to the NPP government, the previous NPP government, and thus neglect the responsibility of the NDC government to the people of Ghana. Gradually, the people of Ghana will come to terms with this government's mastery of propagating empty slogans and yet delivering nothing. We urge Ghanaians to seriously manage expectations as we are in for another year of inactivity and disappointment. Allocations for capital expenditure and goods and services remain unreleased, and workers across the public sector are paid but not given the necessary tools and inputs to work. This is what we call fiscal indiscipline, that you pay workers and yet you don't release goods and services to give them the tools and the inputs to work with. And let me use this opportunity to caution that the Harmattan season has just started in some parts of the country. And we don't want to hear stories later that the chicks have been killed by the Harmattan. Timing is of utmost importance when you are implementing a program. 60 billion Ghana cedis, the Bank of Ghana withdrew from the market just to control inflation. This obviously comes at a cost, whilst the withdrawal of liquidity dried up the pockets of Ghanaians. Farmers across the nation, from Techiman to Tamale, Ho, and many other parts of Ghana, if I don't call your town, forgive me. These farmers cannot sell their produce as demand has evaporated. Let me remind traders across the country that this coming Christmas, if you don't sell to your expectation, know that it is because the NDC government has withdrawn 60 billion Ghana cedis from the market just to achieve a single-digit inflation and impoverish.
All right, so that was the minority spokesperson on the economy, or the ranking member on finance, yes, ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, also former finance minister, stating the minority's views on the economy. Mind you, Finance Minister Forson presented a budget, and as it is almost customary, the minority will always have their say. So that was what is happening there. My guest for this morning, I have Dr. Theo Champon, who is a technical advisor for the Ministry of Finance, Toma Mihe, financial analyst, Richard Ahiagba, Communications Director for the NPP, Fred Agbanyu, Member of Parliament for the Guan constituency, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, and Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, who is Head of Finance at Mebank Capital. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. I'll start off with you, Dr. Tuye Champon. Good to have you in the studio as always. Talk to me about what the Finance Ministry or the government set out to do in this 2026 budget.
Okay, so good morning and very much a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure, really, to sit here and then share ideas in relation to how we build the economy. To sort of put things pretty much straightforward, you recognize that we have come from a particular place, a place where the severe challenges that we had with the economy, particularly over the 2023-22 period, and then coming into 24, had to be fundamentally addressed. And what the budget has sought to do is really anchor and drive some of the reforms that have been started, and then also use that for enhanced productivity. So if you look at the statement that the Right Honourable Minister made in the House in paragraph 28 of the big budget itself, if you don't mind me quoting, it says that, Mr. Speaker, over the next year and beyond, government will focus on 3 strategic priorities for growth, for jobs, and for transformation. So he lists them up. The first one being consolidating macroeconomic stability, and I'll talk to that in a moment. The second one being accelerating economic transformation and job creation, and then again, I'll talk to that in a moment. And then the third one being strengthening security and the social sectors for inclusive growth. So really sort of to do a justice to the budget and then the intent behind it, I would want to look at it from these 3 broad strategic priorities that the government has said. How you consolidate growth, how you consolidate the macro stability that we're seeing, how you accelerate economic transformation, or I would probably put it structural transformation, and then also as a result create jobs. And then number 3, how you ensure that in the process of the growth, you don't leave people behind. And that is actually extremely important because in many jurisdictions, and Ghana is not an exception, we would keep talking about these big macro numbers. GDP is this, inflation is this, and all of that. But when you go down to the micro level, you still have deep issues of poverty and inequality. And you don't need to go far from our studios here. Just walk 50 meters out and you see people struggling on the street. So the growth is only useful if it is carrying people along. And importantly, if you're strengthening your social sectors, health, education, and social protection. And this is really where the budget tries to provide some answers to these 3 big kind of strategic priorities. So let me start off with the first one on how you consolidate macro economic stability. And I'd actually put, some statement and some analysis out there earlier in the week that, in my view, this budget is a credible budget. And when we say a credible budget, what do I mean? So if you look at what the World Bank puts out, and then even what an organization called the International Budget Partnership puts out, again, let me read. A credible budget, or what does budget credibility mean? It means that it is defined as the government's ability to meet its revenue and expenditure targets during the fiscal year. A credibly implemented budget has only small deviations from the approved, both in terms of overall expenditure and revenues, and then also in terms of allocation. So 2 things there. We want to see you implementing what you say you want to do on the revenue and expenditure front, but also importantly when it comes to budget execution, the allocation bit, making sure that monies are going to the right sectors to support those strategic priorities that you say you're going to do, that tends to or would happen. So again, let's look at where the numbers are, right? On the first theme that I mentioned on the macroeconomic stability. So if you go back to the 2025 budget and the targets that the government said that they would achieve, the target was for an overall real GDP growth of at least 4%. As we speak now, the latest numbers are indicating in excess of 6% of real GDP growth. And again, remember that in the last 5 to 6 years, we had struggled to even cross the 4% threshold. So you can look at the data from the Ghana Statistical Service. Pre-pandemic, we would have been doing on average around 6 to 7%. And I had done some analysis that shows that for Ghana to become an upper middle income economy, right? In other words, to be doing per capita GDP in excess of about $4,000, right, dollars, your economy is going to grow consistently at 7% year on year without any deviation, right? And because of the pandemic, Russia, Ukraine, and all the other things that we've had, that growth prospects, and then also, of course, the fiscal mismanagement and the issues that we saw, the growth prospects has been dampened. So this is really the first time that you're seeing that trend that used to be pre-pandemic beginning to go up. And then in the specific interventions that the 2026 budget wants to address, you're going to see that anchor and drive the growth even better and beyond. And we can debate that going forward. Again, one of the targets that we had was that the end-year inflation was going to be 11.9%. So the Bank of Ghana has a target of 6 to 10%, right? And even me, if you asked me 2 years ago, were we going to have inflation now in excess, in around the single digits mark, I would have told you, frankly, no. And I'm sure many market analysts would have told you that that was going to be quite difficult to achieve. But we actually have had a process of continued disinflation to the point that we're now around the 9%, and some of the forecasts that I have seen indicates that you probably may even end the year around the 7 to kind of 8% mark. So that is bang within the target that the central bank has set to allow you to effectively conduct monetary policy under the inflation targeting framework, right, that they are implementing. Again, let me mention two other indicators.
Let me deal with the issue about inflation first. You continue to do the other ones. But at what cost? Amin Adam, former finance minister, addressed the press, and he says that government is taking out about 60 billion from the market, by way of liquidity mop-up. So there's tightening. I mean, there's no money in the system. People are struggling, and you say inflation is single digit. What's at what cost? How does the average person benefit from all of that?
Oh, the average person is benefiting from the prices at the pumps. So a few months ago when I came in town, I was buying petrol, filling my tank for around 800 cedis. So this is a 1.6 liter Toyota Corolla, right? Now I can fill that tank for 550 cedis thereabouts. So you can see the benefit. Prices of foods on the market, not just in terms of the inflation data that the Statistical Service collects. But the price, yes, so the fuel bit, yes. But the prices of goods on the market, yes,
those prices have not seen the corresponding...
No, prices have come down. So
really?
When we say, let me explain. So when we say inflation, we're not saying that
the price
is not coming to come
down. The rate of increase.
It's the relative rate of increase, right? In other words, if you...
All right, abusia, so utimi nyanto city and sema call so who say was actually say NPP for call mujaka 726.7 billion and so nansen atiaba 732 billion which rema ometimi atwetwe kakra. Yen say umre nti de besia and me Ghana Politics Avenue e be so wi aso be subscribe no ahama afoforo so say ka dwumadi pa yidu a yedamase.